science you saw transportation in human beings and transportation in plants. That is xylem and phloem, we saw how it transports the water and minerals is transported by xylem from roots to the leaves, and the leaves will prepare the food with the process called as photosynthesis. From there, whatever the food is produced will be distributed to other parts of the plants with the help of the phloem, because the plants need raw material carbon dioxide. Along with that, it needs nitrogen, phosphorus and other minerals for the plant bodies to develop. So this is the mechanism transportation in plants we saw. Now the last life process, which is called as excretion. What is meant by that is excretion? That is excretory system. There are we have excretory system in plants also and in human beings also. But generally, what is meant by excretion? Excretion means what? So excretion means removal. Excrete means what? To remove. Removal. That is removal of waste materials from organism. Removal of waste materials from organism is called as excretion. Then, which are the excretory, that is what we call it as things which takes place, that is what should be removed from the generally from the organisms. The waste material which is produced in the body of the organism or in the body of the living beings should be removed out, because if it stays in the body, it may create toxicity or it may affect the living things in one or the other way. So excretion is very important. The removal of waste materials from any organism, that is from bacteria to the human being, generally we call this as excretion. So you came to know what is meant by excretion. Removal of waste materials from organism. What do you mean by waste material? Which the organism does not need. It is not helpful to its body. For example, in digestion we saw the undigested food is not needed by our body. So it is thrown out through the anus. Like that, waste materials are there when the organism is aspiring or when the whatever the metabolic activities is going in the body. During that time also, what may happen? Some unwanted substances are produced. That substances should be thrown out. That is called as excretion. Now, excretion in plants, we know that plants, it's a very different type of living thing. It does not have any special excretory organs. Strategies, with the help of different strategies, the excretion in plants takes place. So which are the main excretory parts in the plants which will throw out the waste? The main excretory parts in the plants are the stomata. What is stomata? They are the pores. During respiration also I explained you, and during photosynthesis also I explained you. Where are these stomata present? They are present under the leaf. They are small pores. Pores means what? It's hole, like through that the selected materials can come inside and selected materials can be thrown out. So through stomata, some of the waste materials are thrown out. Second one is cell walls of the root. The cell walls of the root are also diffusion. Selected, what is diffusion? Diffusion means what? Selected materials will enter from the cell wall, from the soil inside the roots, and whatever the unwanted substances are there through the cell wall from the roots will be thrown out into the soil. That is called as cell walls of root. And the last one is the vacuoles. Plant cell has vacuoles. These vacuoles will also help to throw out the certain excretory waste matters. So came to know once again, we are going to see the last life process, which is called as excretory system. Excretory system is in plants. You have to study in plants and you have to study in human being. What is meant by excretion first should be known to us. Removal of waste materials, waste things from the organism. Any organism, smaller or bigger or larger, all have the excretory wastes. It can be in any form. It can be in gaseous form, it can be in solid form, it can be in liquid form. All those waste cannot be stored in the body of the organism. It is not needed. Otherwise, it will, what it will do? It may create problems in the organism in other ways. So that waste should be thrown out. And throwing that waste from the organism is called as excretion. Now let us study regarding excretion in plants. So we know that plants, it's a very different type of living organism. It cannot move, it will be fixed in one place only. The roots will enter into the soil, hold the soil firmly, and it will, what happened? It will stand in one place. So it has no locomotion. So the excretory system also is different. The plants does not have specialized excretory system. But in the plants, some parts of the plants are there which will help in the excretion. Which are those parts? They are the stomata. What is the stomata? They are the holes found in the where? Bottom part of the leaf. And the stomata is helpful for everything. Okay. And what happens? Whatever the waste matter which is produced in the plant through the, because conductive tissues are there. Which are the conductive tissue? Xylem and phloem. So through this conductive tissue, whatever the waste material is there will come to the leaf, and from the stomata, those waste matters are thrown out. Next one is cell walls of root. The roots also contain cell wall. Diffusion. What is diffusion? The thin membrane allowing the what it allows selected things from outside will enter into the cell, and what is not needed in the cell will be thrown out through that cell wall. That is what cell walls also help in throwing out the unwanted waste which is present in the plant. And the last one is the vacuoles. Vacuole, large vacuole is there in plants, that is food vacuole is there, and one more vacuole is there which will throw out the waste matter which is not needed in the plants. Now next we will see what are the different wastes formed in the plant. Now let us see which are the waste products in plants. First waste product is carbon dioxide and oxygen. How carbon dioxide became the waste? It is called as the respiratory waste. I told you in the night time, in absence of sunlight, photosynthesis cannot take place. So that time the plant will respire. It will take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. That giving out carbon dioxide is the respiratory waste. And oxygen. During daytime, the green plants, what they do? They do the process of photosynthesis. They take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen. So giving out whatever is coming out of the plants during daytime, it is the respiratory waste product. So that is the oxygen. So this carbon dioxide and oxygen are the respiratory, that is carbon dioxide is the respiratory waste and oxygen is the respiratory waste. That is the waste products in plants which is produced. Second one is that excess water. Okay, I told you that the roots play very important role, and in transportation in plants I told you xylem is one conductive tissue and phloem is one conductive tissue. From the soil the roots will absorb water and minerals which should reach the leaf. So this water and minerals reaches to the leaf. And in the leaf what happens? The water becomes excess, and excess water is waste for the leaf. So it should be thrown out. Otherwise, what will happen? The photosynthesis may be hindrance in the photosynthesis may occur because more water is collected. So for that purpose, the excess of water should be removed, and the removal of the excess of water through the stomata is called as transpiration. So excess of water is also the waste product in plants. Next is excess of salt. I told you with the water through the xylem, the minerals also enter, along with that nitrogen, phosphorus and other raw materials which are needed. So minerals contains the salt. So the salt will reach to each and every part of the body, where this salt, when it becomes excess, it starts accumulating, it starts collecting in certain places and it will form crystals, which are the waste products in plants. Then nitrogenous waste also occurs. Nitrogen is required, I told you, for the plants, for the development of plant bodies. So this nitrogen, when it enters into the plants, there may be excess of nitrogen may be produced, and that excess of nitrogen through the primary metabolism, what happens? That waste product can be thrown out. Next is the tannins. Okay, tannins are also what? They are the secondary metabolism, and these tannins are produced due to the secondary metabolism which takes place in the plants, and the tannins can also be removed, which can be called as the waste products. Then the organic acid means whenever the metabolism takes place, primary metabolism takes place, secondary metabolism takes place, during that metabolism a byproduct will come out, which is the metabolic intermediate, which is called organic acid. Organic means carbon compound. Carbohydrate is there in the plants, which is a carbon compound. So when metabolism of that takes place, the byproduct may be produced, which is the intermediate, which is called as the organic acid. That is also not needed by the plants, which is also a waste product. Then the latex. Latex is what? It is the, what you call it as the rubber which is secreted by the barks, and it is thrown out by a special excretory organ which is called as laticifier. Example is your rubber. Then the resins. Resins are also a type of substances which will give the aroma, that is smell will be there, and that resins is also the waste product in plants. And the last is the gum. How this gum is produced? The cell wall of the bark, the cell wall of the leaf, or the waste, mostly the bark only, the stem part of the plant. What will happen? Degradation of cell wall takes place, breaking of the cell wall takes place, the cell wall become dead, and from that the gum is produced. So these are the waste products in plants. So once again I will repeat: carbon dioxide is a respiratory waste product, oxygen is a photosynthesis waste product. In night time, oxygen is taken in, carbon dioxide is given out, so that is respiratory waste product. During daytime, carbon dioxide taken in, oxygen is given out, that is the photosynthetic waste product. Excess of water through the xylem, the conductive tissue, the water enters into the leaf, but sometimes the water gets stored in the leaf, which is not needed, extra water. It should be thrown out by transpiration, and that is also the waste product. Excess of salt, minerals is entering through xylem into the different parts of the plant, and there what happens, sometimes in some places the salt starts accumulating or starts collecting, and it gets transferred into crystals, which are also not needed by the plants, which is also called a waste product. Then the nitrogenous waste, nitrogen is needed. So when extra nitrogen enters into the plants, it will become a nitrogenous waste, that is the product from primary metabolism. It can be, that waste product can be removed. Then tannins, it is also a chemical substance which is produced in the plants. Due to the secondary metabolism, it can be thrown out. Next is the organic acid. When primary metabolism, secondary metabolism is taking place, there will be a, in between these metabolisms, there will be a byproduct which is called intermediate, that is the organic acid is produced, which is not needed by the plant. It is also a waste product. Latex, that is the laticifier, is a special excretory organ which will throw out the latex That is, your example is the rubber, which is the latex produced, which is not needed by the plant, it is produced in the bark of the tree. Then the resins, it is an aromatic oil, it is also produced in the bark of the tree. Okay, so that is due to certain chemical reactions taking place in the plant, the resins are formed, which is not needed. That is mostly that what you call it as in the old xylem, when the xylem becomes very old. So all these unwanted materials will get converted to latex, resins, and these gums and all. They will be stored in that old xylem and they can be thrown out by it. And the last one is the gum. You know what is gum? Okay, the cell wall of the bark gets degraded, means gets broken up as it becomes old, and wear and tear will take place. Sometimes due to the injury in the bark, what happens? The cell wall gets damaged, it gets degraded, and this degraded cell walls will form the gum, and that gum is also the waste product in plants. Next we will see mechanism of what you call it as throwing the waste products from the plants. Let us see now mechanism of excretion in plants. How does this mechanism takes place? First one is the old leaves. In autumn season, you will find that some of the trees are shedding the leaves. The leaves starts falling off. It's a surprise of how the leaf will fall off. That is a reason behind it, because in that leaves, the percentage of waste product accumulated will become more, and that waste product should not stay in the plants. So that is why what happens, that leaves will start falling down. That is a one way of excretion in plants, to throw out the waste products in the old leaves, and that old leaves will fall off. That is shedding of the leaves, through that the waste product is thrown out. Second one is old xylem. I told you regarding the xylem, it's a very important conductive tissue. As the xylem goes on working, and as the years pass by, this xylem will start becoming old. And this old xylem, some of the materials like resin, gum and latex start storing in this old xylem. So where are these waste products stored? In the old xylem. And why? Because old xylem, because now that xylem cannot work as a conductive tissue. It has lost its power of conducting. So it becomes old, and that in old xylem, what should have happened? It starts storing these substances, that is a waste substances like resin, gum and latex. What is resin means? It is produced in bark. Okay, the bark means the stem part of the plant. Okay, the hard part which is there on the stem, it is called as a bark. And it is a chemical substance which is produced in the bark, and it is used for castings. Castings, which in Kannada we say it as achu. Okay, that is, if you pour that liquid in that mold, you will get the same shape. That is called as casting. And it is also used for flooring. You must have seen on the floor. So, okay, this resins, you can just stick that resin on the floor, and you will get a nice flooring with that resin. Then the gum is produced. What is this gum? In the old xylem, the gum starts accumulating. It is nothing but carbohydrate is there? No. Carbohydrate, okay, when it gets formed as starch, and when it gets oxidized, it gets converted into sugar. And some of these sugars will form a long chain and start accumulating. That is due to heat. The carbohydrates will break up into sugar, and the sugar starts accumulating in the form of gum due to heat. That is what it gets accumulated in old xylem. And this gum, you know, it will come out of the bark, and you must have seen it's a very sticky substance. On the bark you will see that. Last one is the latex. What it is? A milky white liquid, which is the call it as a natural rubber, which oozes out, okay, which is stored in the old xylem and which oozes out from the bark. When the bark gets injured, at that time that latex or the milky white liquid comes out. It is a natural rubber, and this natural rubber is used in balloons. So this is regarding the old xylem. And some of the waste matter or the waste material is stored in the bark of the tree. So bark also plays a very important role in helps in excretion in plants. Next one is central vacuole. In the cells of the plant, vacuoles are there. Food vacuole is there and central vacuole is there. Food vacuole will, what it will do, it will collect and store the food which is prepared in the leaf. And what is the central vacuole? It is that vacuole which helps the plant to throw out the unwanted waste. It will throw out into the cytoplasm, and the cytoplasm will throw out to the cell membrane through diffusion. That is what the central vacuole. It will collect the waste matter from the what to call it as whatever the metabolism takes place, and that it throws into the cytoplasm, and cytoplasm will move that waste matter through the cell membrane, and from the cell membrane through diffusion that waste matter is thrown out. Then the root, I told you, root is also a very important part because it is the one which is carrying, what it is carrying? Water and minerals. Through the root hairs are there which are present on the outer part of the root. So what happens? The root is also having cell wall. It is doing the diffusion process. It is allowing certain important things to enter and certain unwanted things to be thrown out. So root also plays very important role in excretion in plants. Next one is detoxification. Sometimes what happens, the calcium starts gathering in the plant, and it is very dangerous, this calcium. So what is this calcium which becomes excess, it will gather in the plants and gets converted into calcium carbonate. So what happened, that the calcium will convert into calcium carbonate, which is a compound, so it will get detoxified. That is called detoxification. And the last is salt gland. I told you minerals contain the salt, and I told you salt gets collected in the form of crystals, and the salt glands will take that crystal form, and what it will do? It will throw out that waste. So this is a mechanism of excretion in plants. So which are the things which are there? The old leaves will play the mechanism, which what happens? The unwanted substances will start gathering into the leaves. As the years passes by, the young leaves will start becoming old. So these old leaves, after gathering the waste products, it will be shedded down, and the shedding of the leaves, old leaves, is due to the it is a part of the excretion in plants. Then the old xylem, I told you, xylem when it is young, it will do the process of conducting tissue, it will play the role. But as the xylem becomes old and old, it loses its conducting property, and it starts gathering the waste products like resin, gum and latex. Resin, I told you, it is produced in the bark. It is used for casting and flooring. Gum, I told you, it is due to heat inside the plant. The carbohydrate whatever is there, it will break up into long chain of sugar and it will become a sticky liquid. Latex, when injury takes place in the bark, it will ooze out a milky white liquid which is nothing but a natural rubber which is used in making balloons. Then we have the bark. Bark is also a very important part in the plant. The hard part on the stem, the delicate part of the stem which will be protected. So the hard covering will be there on the stem, and that covering is called as the bark. And that bark also stores the unwanted what to call it as a waste. So it is also a type of excretion in plant. Then the central vacuole I told you. Along with the food vacuole, one more vacuole is there. Its work is to throw out the waste material in the plants. So the central vacuole will gather whatever the waste is there, pass it to the cytoplasm. Then from the cytoplasm it will go to the cell wall, and from the cell wall, due to diffusion, the waste product will be thrown out. Root. It is also a very important part. What will this root will do? It absorbs the water and minerals, transports to the leaf, and from the leaf whatever the food is produced, it will come to the roots. Along with the food, some of the waste substances which are also there, that also starts gathering in the roots, and the cell wall, what it will do? Diffusion. So it will throw out the waste material. Then the detoxification. The collection of calcium starts taking place in the plants, which is a toxic substance. So this calcium will be converted into calcium carbonate. So detoxification occurs there. And the last, the salt gland. I told you some of the waste product will gather and form salt in the form of crystals that is formed inside the salt gland, and that salt is also thrown out, and it is how the mechanism of excretion in plants takes place. Next time we will see the excretion in human beings. So till whatever I have done, you see the video, observe the video. So goodbye children. Thank you children.